Oh, okay. So, as per the title, um, I am making some crazed fusion nonsense today. Um, I, I didn't kick off with an idea today. I went out looking for ingredients, and what I found was shrimp. I'm like, oh, I could make a poke bowl, but I've done poke bowls before. They're tasty. They look nice on the picture. They have really good uh, presentation at the end. Well, but I want to do something crazy. It's Halloween month. It's supposed to be doing spooky things. Well, I didn't end up coming up with a spooky thing. I did finally get some NyQuil and taste it, wine sommelier style, with a whiff of the bouquet, a sip, a swish, and then a spit. Because there's medication, and I don't want to be taking medication. I It wasn't what I was expecting based on descriptions. I can't do it today because I don't have enough mint. There's definitely a lot of mint in it. Um, and I don't have. Well, actually, I don't have chicken either, so I can't do it with chicken. Actually, I forgot to check. Do I have menthol extract? I do not. Okay, so I couldn't even fake it with menthol extract. But I've got a handle on the flavor profile. I actually think that if you turned it down a bit and made it a proper marinade, I don't. Boiling the chicken in that stuff seems like it would be a mistake, but I think you could turn it into a pretty good marinade. That would actually taste quite nice, and then grill your chicken afterwards. Maybe braise. If you do chicken breast, I think you get away with braise, and that is the classic. Classic. It's only a couple weeks old at this point, but we're not making that today. Um, I've got a general handle on it, but we're not making that today. We're making something else. Um, and calling it poke is probably a little bit of a stretch. It's going to be poke in terms of its physical structure, but less so in terms of its flavor profile and ingredients. So, tiny bit of a bait and switch there, I think. We are going, but I am going to try to make it not hot served. It's going to be cool because it's quite warm today. We're in the mid 70s in October, which is extremely high. It's going to be cold later this week, so I think this is the last warm day I've got for you guys until next spring, probably May. Um, so I want to make something a little bit cooler and refreshinger rather than hot and heavy and wintry. So that's the goal. That's the goal for today. I'm going to start by boiling some water. Which means I need some water. So I'm going to come over here to my sink and fill this pot with water. We're going to use the boiled water for two separate elements. So let's pop us into the stove. I'm putting it on the back burner because I'm going to do other things on the front burner later, and it's easier just to leave that put because it's heavy and it's going to be hot. We're going to boil an egg in it to start with. It's a lot of water for an egg, but again, I'm doing two things with it. So, one, egg. It's a little bit old. It's standing on its point. Eggs do that when they are getting a little bit old, and they take on some air. I'm going to salt that now. It's going to need to be salted later, but I'm going to salt it now. Are you actually floating? That would be... No, you're just touching the bottom because the water's not deep enough. Okay. I always forget how to do... We're doing a hard cooked egg, so... And I am bad at hard cooked eggs. Just in general, not my strength. Let's see, I don't have any ice. I forgot to put in ice. I don't keep ice handy unless I need it, and I forgot to prepare any ice today. So our cold bath is just going to be cold water. Do I have any plastic ice packs? I do. Okay. So it's going to be cold water and a plastic ice pack. Which is fine. Which is fine. This guy right here. One of these things. For which I'm going to need a bigger bowl. Bigger bowl, flat bottom. We're doing two things with the ice bath too. So having an ice bath handy will be handy. This guy, wider and flatter, so that the ice pack can sit in it. Do I do two things? I might not actually use it for the second thing now that I'm thinking of it. I could let the shrimps cool off. The method I'm using for the egg is put it in cold water, bring the water up to a boil, and then turn the heat off. And it should, in theory, be cooked through to the middle. It should, in theory, be cooked through the middle. After 10 minutes, I want it to cool down as well. That egg is standing up, which is bugging me. The other thing I'm going to use that same water for is noodles, pasta, because I'm making a pasta-based bowl. I guess I actually want to measure out an appropriate amount of pasta. A quarter cup? A quarter cup seems like not a lot, but again, there's going to be a lot going on top of it. And I'm making enough for one, so maybe a third of a cup. My measuring cups are slightly damp. I just washed them. I don't want to make too much. Well, suppose if I make too much, I just don't use it all. But I always overshoot when I'm making pasta. Wow, this box is really hard to open. I always overshoot when I'm making pasta, end up making way too much. Why is this box so terrible? Okay. I think a cup is too much. Half a cup? probably just half a cup of this. So weird long one. Yeah, I'll probably end up with a little bit more than I need, but not like wildly more than I need, which is usually what I do when I have noodles. I pour them in without really paying attention. Anyways, part part two of our project is going to be the garlic shrimp. Ooh, don't want to put that shallot in there. Not yet. I'll think about the shallot for the future. But step one of any garlic dish is the garlic. Got to get your garlic peeled and crushed or grated or minced, depending on how finely you are planning on using it. I need a trash bowl. I'm having better and better luck with the garlics as we've gotten later into the season, where the skins come off much more easily. Some of the ones I picked up earlier in the season were really hard to get out of their skins. Our water is reaching a strong simmer. I want to get to a proper boil, big bubbles, before I take the heat off. Because we are going to take the heat off. That's the most reliable way I know to make eggs, is to heat them up in the water and then take the entire thing off the heat and let them sit in the hot water as it cools down. And it penetrates through without overdoing the middles. And then we chuck it into our cold bath to get the skin, or the membrane underneath the shell, to loosen up so that we can peel it. Peeling is the hardest part for me with eggs, which is why I typically avoid making hard-cooked eggs at home. I just don't want to deal with peeling them. So you guys are looking at that, and I'm over here. Let's switch up the focus. That's just going to do nothing over there for a minute. It's out of boil, so off the heat, lid on, stand for 10 minutes. The next step, as I said before, is garlic. Which we are doing a grating. Well enough in advance that it can develop its strong garlicky flavor. Oop, drop the whole clove in there twice. Of course, grating up garlic like this is probably better suited for when you're mixing it into something instead of just frying it straight. The paste here will burn very rapidly, very readily. Let's get a spatula out. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay. Rinse our grater off. I can't remember if I'm going to use it for anything else, but just in case, I want to get it rinsed off. It doesn't go sticky on me while I'm waiting. Get the garlic all in the dish there. That's a good amount of garlic, not a huge amount of garlic. Okay. Next step, shrimps. Looks like the price of shrimp has stabilized a bit. It was super high in the summer. It's less super high now. I'm going to get out an appropriate number of shrimps. They're a little bit icy, which is strange because I didn't get them out of the freezer section. They must have been frozen when they put them in the cooler. There are 13 left, and I just pulled out 6. So that would be 2 more servings of 6 plus an extra one. Which means I can pull out an extra one now and have 7, and then there's 2 servings of 6 there for later. And I will stick them in a plastic freezer bag and freeze the remainder. I'm not using them now, and I don't expect to use them tomorrow. Shrimps freeze pretty well, especially when you've gotten them in shell like this. The shells protect the shrimp from freezer burn. Not 100%, but well enough that you can stick them in a bag like this. I rinsed my finger off a little bit. Stick them in a bag like this, chuck them in the freezer, and they will last. They'll keep for a good while. I don't know exactly how long, but a good while. So having more shrimp than you need for a particular dish isn't the end of the world. We're going to take the shells off of them now, and that goes into a different bag in the freezer. I save all of my shrimp and crab and shellfish shells in a bag in the freezer. And when the bag is full, we dump the whole thing into my slow cooker and we make shrimp stock out of it, which is delicious and is expensive to make if you're making it on demand because you need to have gone through enough shrimp that you've got extra shrimp shells. Taking the tails off too. We're not going for decorative tails in this one. That one tail is already split. But if all you're doing is eating shrimp sometimes, save the shells. Whether you cook it in the shell or not, save the shell in a plastic bag in the freezer when it's full. Boil them up, make nice shrimp stock. Nope, see that one got a little bit of freezer burn. That's freeze damage on the outside of the shrimp there. That's what they look like. They start to go white around the edges. Which means these definitely were, I mean, of course they were frozen. They were frozen to ship to the store that I got them from. But it means they've probably been frozen for a while as well. And then they thawed them out. Possibly these are some of the shrimps that were earlier in the year too expensive, never got sold, got stuck into deep freeze rather than being sold at a discount. and have now been pulled out. I imagine that happens with shrimps pretty regularly for the aforementioned reason of they freeze pretty well as long as you leave them in the shells. Not 100%, but pretty well. Keep an eye on that egg. We only need one egg, and it's got plenty of time to set up before I need it. It's going to be one of the last things, but I want it to be cool enough to neatly peel. The hell is that sound? Some kind of siren outside, but not the weather siren, some other kind of siren. Okay. Okay. Wash my hands real quick because I'm going to switch over to egg. I had debated, and I guess I decided not to at this point, cooking the shrimps and then shocking them in the ice bath as well. But I guess we're not going to do that because at this point I've firmly not done that. We'll get a pan out for them. They're not ready. Well, they need to be cooled off as well. They're going to need to be cooled off as well. So I actually will cook them pretty much now. A lot of these things are going to have to be cooled off so I can construct a fancy little bowl for them. The hell is that? Pardon me for a moment. There's a sound up here. I'm trying to figure out what this sound is. It's unusual. It sounds like a motor somewhere is dying. Like it's this high squeal. I'm sure you guys can't hear it at all. Okay. Egg, you're coming out. And you're going in the ice bath. Remaining water, you're going back on the heat, back to a boil because I need you to be boiling. Because you also got to cook my pasta. Let's see, I should probably do that. Yeah, I'm actually going to keep doing that on that back burner so I can use this front burner for something else. Several somethings else. Okay, perfect. I've got a little knob of butter left. We'll pop our little. Oop, did all that without having it on the right direction. I just dropped something. There you are. Butter. Okay, so the egg can sit in the ice bath until later when I need it. Hopefully it is hard through the middle because I'm going to cut into it, and if it's soft boiled in the middle, we're going to have a little bit of a runny mess. Although that might be tasty. I'm hoping for a jammy middle, that kind of soft ramen egg style. But as long as the white is set, I'll be happy with whatever it turns out to be. That's already melting, even though the burner is off. Let's put that on medium low. And let's prepare some spices as well for the shrimp. I've already got the garlic. I want black pepper. I want fresh thyme. I want fresh thyme. I'm going to go get some fresh thyme from my front window. I'll chit-chat as I walk over. The herbs in the window thus far have been doing well, although they've only been in here for a week. Except for the red shiso that has dropped all of its leaves and looks like it's about to be completely dead, which it probably is. It was trying to do that before I brought it in. I think it's just done for the season. There's weeds in my thyme in the pot. That's not good. I don't want that. Okay, some thyme. My water boiled while I was gone. That's perfect. I can take my pasta and just chuck it in. Look at my timer. We should be done in, let's see, the box says 6 minutes to al dente. Okay. I can do 6 minutes. Get back over here. Fresh thyme from my window. There's quite a bit of it. I think I'm going to use it in 2 places. Or at least I'm going to try to. The thyme leaves are so small that you don't need to mince them up. You also can't pick them up when they fall on the counter. You don't need to mince them up. You can just strip them off and throw them in whatever you're throwing them in. Or leave them on the stem. They'll all fall off the stem into whatever you're cooking. And you can just pull the stem out. Oh, they smell so nice. I probably don't need both stems. We can save this one as a garnish, maybe. Garlic, black pepper, thyme, butter, shrimp. Anything else goes in the shrimp? Yes, because I am going to do a little bit of fusion-y nonsense. So the missing element that goes in with my butter is some sesame oil. We're doing a mixture of butter and sesame oil as the fatty base. Ooh, drop your sesame oil. Thankfully the lid was on. Or that would have been a disaster. It's above my computer. That would have been probably the end of the stream. Probably the end of streams for the foreseeable. Not ideal. So let's get those dry spices in there. Well, the non-garlic wet spices in there. Get them infusing into the butter a little bit. Bring this guy down to an 8 so he doesn't foam over. You could also put a dollop of oil in the pan to prevent it from boiling over. I'm going with the turn the temperature down method today. I do both depending on how aggressive I'm feeling with the boil. Garlic. The garlic is immediately fragrant, suggesting that my pan is in fact hot. Also, my butter is bubbling, which is a good sign. So let's jiggle a little bit. Lay the shrimps in. They don't take very long to cook. But I don't want them to cook super, super fast, so I'm going to keep the temperature a little bit low. Actually, I should wash that entirely. Let's see, I'm on the wrong angle again. We're going to wash my cutting board because raw shrimp is not as big a problem as raw chicken, but it is still a potential contaminant. Any raw animal product is. Keep that in mind next time you eat sushi. I eat sushi all the time, but be aware that it's a potential source of contamination as it is raw animal meat. Anyways, I want these shrimps to cook through and then stop cooking and not dry out. So I'm going to have to get a bowl ready so I can pull them out as soon as they are done. Dry off my cutting board because we're probably going to use it again. Get out some chopsticks. Chopsticks are the superior choice for manipulating things in a cooking environment like this. I'll be able to flip those shrimps one at a time very easily. I think that I'm missing a pair of chopsticks. I was just looking at my chopsticks, and there's my favorite set, this kind, that I usually eat with. There's only 3 of them in there. As in 3 individual chopsticks, which is very odd, because they typically come in pairs. Didn't wash any just now. Huh. That's odd. That's odd. Huh. Shrimps are coming along nicely. The macaroni should be al dente. It feels a little bit... Oh, no, that's al dente. Huh. Okay, well, trust the box, I guess. It was absolutely on point. Okay, these guys have got to flip. Because the backside is definitely cooked. They are already going pink on the top side of the tail, which means the heat has penetrated through from the bottom. We just need the bottoms to cook. Shrimps will shrink up as you cook them. They will shrink up more if you overcook them. The low heat is helping me maintain control over the shrimps. Let's see, what I need to do is just move my ice bath out of the sink. The ice bath for the egg, for one lonesome egg, is inside the sink. And that's just not good. Is the egg cool to the touch? Yes. The egg is cool to the touch. We're putting the egg in a bowl we'll deal with later so that I can get the ice bath out of my sink. And we can re-put the cold pack in the freezer without even drying it off, so it develops even more ice. Okay. Because I need to get the noodles out of their water before they overcook because I was going for an al dente. We didn't make a ton of noodles. Hoping that I don't need a ton of noodles. I've chosen the pot that has a drain lid with drain holes and little spouts so that you can cook pasta in it and drain it immediately without having to pull out a colander, which is good for a small quantity of pasta like this. Let's get it. And here's an interesting bit. I want it to stick together. At this point, I want it to stick itself together. Still a little bit of water in there that I wanted to get rid of. At this point, I want it to stick together a bit, so I'm going to get the water out of it. But then I'm going to put it right into the serving bowl. We're going to put it directly into our serving bowl naked. Because like sushi rice, I want the starches on the surface to stick a bit. Because as I said, I'm going for a structural mimic of the poke bowl here. The shrimps are going to want to come out next. I will give them a quick poke for doneness. They're firm. They've got a nice tight spiral. They're nice and pink on both sides. We are going to pull them out gently. And take the heat off of this. Shrimps. Okay, you off heat and also the burner off. Okay, the shrimps want to cool down before I get to them, so they can just sit to the side. The egg is already cooled down, but I won't need that yet. So that can also set to the side. The noodles are also cooling off and need to set to the side. I gave myself all this new side space by rearranging my countertop area, and I am fully taking advantage of it. Except that the gentlemen were still there. I need to move the gentlemen for sure. Okay. Okay, the pasta, the egg, the shrimp are done. We need the cheese sauce because there's a cheese sauce that I'm going to make. I don't need a ton of it, so I'm actually going to go for the small sauce pan. And it's going to end up being on the burner that's the least optimal for looking at. Well, the second least optimal, this front left one, because it's a small pan. I need more butter for that. And unfortunately, that means I have to get one out of the freezer because we freeze our extra butter. Because I bought a bunch of extra butter when the prices start to go up, so that I would have butter. This knife is the one that is going to get me my butter. This is a very sharp, very thin serrated knife. I guess it's supposed to be a steak knife, but it doesn't have the point on the end, so I'm not sure what they had in mind when they were designing it. It came in a set with a little paring knife. This is the best thing I've found for it, is going through stuff that is resistant. I'm just going to take a tablespoon off of there, because I think I'm going to juice it up with the extra shrimp liquid. Wow. I should just build it directly in this pan, shouldn't I? It's still hot? Yeah. Okay. I'm building it directly in this pan so that I can use the herbs. We're just gonna go for it, which means I got this one dirty for nothing. But oh well. That didn't work. So I've added a little bit of butter to the existing butter, sesame oil, garlic, thyme, and black pepper mixture that I've got in here. The garlic has gone crispy on me, which means I need to very carefully control this as to not burn it. So we're going to turn it back on, but we're going to keep it halfway up the side, the side of the low, just to melt the butter. Again, I don't want this to be blazing hot when I add it to the finished product. Ooh. So I have a decision to make. I was gonna go straight for. I want a salty cheese here. I'm adding cheese to this. And I was gonna go for Parmesan. I've got a fresh wedge of Parmesan, not even opened, but sitting right next to it, we've got goat feta from an earlier project that needs to get used up. So I think I'm going to go for the goat feta. I'm going to make a goat feta cheese, kind of a goat feta cheese Alfredo. Let's see if this even works. Let's see if this works at all. This might be a disaster. Excuse me. This might be a disaster. This might end up being an absolute train wreck. Feta keeps pretty well, but you can't just ignore it forever. So I got to use it up at some point. And that point is now. I heard something. Huh. I got windows open in the front. It's causing extra noises to leak in that I'm not used to. So I guess we should make a roux out of that stuff. 2 tablespoons of butter in there. So 2 tablespoons of flour should be the right amount once it's melty. Are you hot? The flour tower. The tower of flour. Hey! I don't know if feta is going to melt very well. Also, welcome in. It's experimental. This whole thing is sure a thing. Feta melts. It probably melts better than Parmesan, and this is a recipe. Authentic Alfredo is made from Parmesan, so we're nearly there. It's a nice, strong, salty flavor, which there's so far very little salt in all of my elements. So I think it's going to be important to get that salt in there. I mean, we're testing it now. We're seeing what happens. Since Parmesan is the traditional cheese for this type of sauce, I'm pretty confident that a other hard salty cheese should work. I would do this with Asiago or things like that. Feta is more crumbly, but it's still like a firm salty cheese. Ugh, and it's goat feta too, so it's a very strong flavor. So I don't know. It's an experiment. I'm just getting the butter melted so I can add the flour and we can start to construct a little roux here. And if possible, I would like this cheese sauce to be runny, extra runny, which might not be possible. But I plan on serving it at room temperature, not hot. So, um, so we're running the risk of this over thickening and turning into a cheese cube instead of a cheese sauce. This is the kind of thing that the I don't think I told anyone on stream, or did I? I found a website that sells the basically all the chemistry that goes on the back of food packaging that nobody knows how to pronounce. I found a place that sells all of that stuff in consumer-sized packaging. And if I was going to make this and I was taking it very seriously, I would get that stuff. We're foaming, even though my heat is quite low. I'm going to add another scoop of flour. That puts us at about half as much flour as butter, and there was also a dollop of sesame oil in there. So I'm hoping that the sesame oil is going to help us keep this from just seizing up. It is getting very foamy, which suggests that there is extra water in there that is forming bubbles. That are getting caught in our starch fat mixture. So I'm going to add the feta a little bit at a time. Eh, eh, more than a little bit at a time. Okay, okay. It smells all. Oh boy, it wakes up the smell real fast. The curds of the feta are definitely falling apart. It's not really forming a super smooth sauce yet. Temperature's also a little bit low still, because we've got the small pan on the big burner. For ease of viewing, uh, hmm. Well, they're softening up and they're falling into smaller and smaller bits. So I think it's working. It's just slow. And it's hard to see them because this is foamed up so much, and I don't know why it's foaming quite this much. We have developed some kind of miraculous foam that just grows and grows. If you have any idea why this is so foamy, um, let me know because I'm a little bit at a loss for what the heck is happening in that pan. The heat is low. The heat is super low. I'm surprised it's even bubbling at this temperature. If I go any lower, it won't even be cooking. It's. I mean, sure, but the butter was not foaming. The same butter in the same pan was not foaming earlier when it had the shrimp in it at a higher temperature. Because this butter has already been through cooking our shrimps. Um, okay, I can kind of mash the feta, and then it incorporates. So it did kind of work. Oops, not super well, and the foaming is just throwing me. Um, the foaming is just throwing me. I don't know what's going on there. Um, okay. At this point, it's not going to taste much like a cheese sauce either. Let's get a spoon and see what it does when I do the old spoon sauce test. Yeah, it needs a lot more substance. Just tastes like butter and garlic. Okay, the feta was an interesting idea. I don't know that it's working. I'm going to get out the Parmesan. Good thing I washed off my grater earlier after doing the garlic, because I'm going to need it right now for the cheese. Started foaming before I put the feta in it. Started foaming when I put the flour in it. It's something to do with the oil in the flour is causing a foam. Anyways, this is the more traditional way to do it anyways, is Parmesan. And you're supposed to toss the pasta right in it. We're not doing that because this is a topping sauce. Uh, anyways, the finely grated Parmesan should melt and incorporate much better, as long as I keep the heat low and gentle. It could also be the fact that there's just a bunch of stuff in here. There's a bunch of non-butter and non-cheese ingredients in here as well. Okay. I do have one last thing that I'm going to throw in here to try to pull it together, and that is cream. And turn the heat off. This is looking terrible. This is looking terrible. It's not incorporating. It's looking like a very, very, very split sauce. How do I unsplit a sauce? How do you unsplit a sauce? More flour. It says more flour. Okay. Okay. More flour to pick up the oil that has come out of my sauce. Well, that's bringing it back together. It's a weird color. But it's a little bit saucier now. Yeah, unsplit a sauce. That's what I looked for. Okay. I'm wondering if the feta just doesn't want to melt and just breaks down into smaller and smaller curds. Because it breaks down, but it's still visible. Well, this does not look great. I will say that right now. This, whatever this is, does not look great. Maybe it will taste good. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll taste good. Tastes like a strong salty cheese. It's a little bit grainy. Strong garlic flavor. Tastes a lot like Parmesan and butter and garlic. And I suppose it's almost a sauce. Good thing it doesn't need to be a main event on the plate. So I'm going to use it because it tastes good, but sure looks ugly. I'm not sure what all the mistakes were there. Probably should have done a fresh pat of butter instead of trying to reuse the butter from the shrimp. Lessons learned. Mistakes were made. It's not. It's not. It's not a travesty. It's not a travesty. It's not great. It's fortunately there's going to be a lot going on the plate, and I will be able to have it be sort of a hidden flavor element rather than a main thing. We're going to keep the cheese handy, actually. I might want to grate more of that as a decorative topping, since I'm not going to have the sauce as a decorative topping. Okay, shrimps are room temp. This stuff needs to cool off a little bit. Okay, my noodles have done the thing where they're all stuck together, which is exactly what I was looking for. Since this stuff is a good flavor but an ugly appearance, I'm going to add it now, and the other stuff can go on top of it and hide it away. And I've got more than I need, so I guess I'll experiment with what I can do with it down the line. A little bit of separated oil will also loosen up the pasta just a little bit, which is good. Next, I need to do my various fresh vegetable components, because there's also fresh veggies going in this. Let's grab a little paring knife. One of the last garden fresh tomatoes from our friends over at Fox Familiar Farms. And I want wedges. Oop, that's the problem. The center wasn't cut through. And I got to take that little stemmy guy off there. The core, as they call it. So no worries about it being kind of ugly. It tastes nice, so that's the most important bit, because there's going to be a lot of garnish on top of it. Oop, the guts came out of that one. As I mentioned way back at the beginning, I'm mimicking the structure of a poke bowl rather than the flavors with this. Although I'm not completely abandoning the flavors. With just a hint of sesame oil, shrimp. We're doing a concoction. I walked around the grocery store for about an hour, just looking at things and devising a plan. And this was the plan. It's a strange plan. Um, I don't think it's going to take super long either, because we're already at plate construction, although there's several stages of plate construction. But we might have a short one today, because the plan is a little... Oop, need more plastic bags. The plan is a thing. Let's see. I have a couple of ideas for the toppings, and they are, in addition to the shrimp, tomato, cucumber, and daikon radish. What else do you think could possibly go while I'm preparing those three? I got an English cucumber today. You can tell it's English because they wrapped it in plastic instead of just having it naked on the shelf. And they say Americans package things too much. We're going to use the serrated knife. This is where I think it super shines, is this knife. When you got something that's wrapped in plastic, you can go right through the plastic. It's sharp and serrated, so it can go easily through plastic. You just have to remember to take the plastic off before you eat whatever you've taken slices of. Okay, okay. Cucumber. Rest of the cucumber is going to go sit in the fridge for a bit and think about what it's done. The little stem end can go in our trash bowl. Plastic rings can be thrown away. Daikon, which is a similar textural element, but a different flavor element. And I should have peeled it because they're a little bit dirty on the outside. I should have peeled it before I sliced it. Not the hardest thing in the world, but you do have to be very careful so you don't slip into your own finger when you are cutting like this. Okay. So this is the kind of cooking that happens when I'm cut loose with no recipe, but don't off the cuff it at the last second. We get fusion nonsense. Oh, I mentioned during my intro, which I don't think anyone is here for, maybe the bot. I think I've nailed down the profile. Oh, hi Goldie. Um, let me finish my sentence before I jump in on Goldie's question. Um, I think I've nailed down the profile of NyQuil for NyQuil chicken. Uh, it's anise and mint and cherry, which is a strange combination. So we'll have to see how I can figure out how to put those together. As for, hi Goldie, our cheese sauce is already on the noodles here. You can see it kind of gone grainy and split, but it tastes quite nice. It's a mixture of feta and Parmesan. I'm making a poke bowl in which I have a strongly flavored mac and cheese as the base, but it's room temp with then fresh veggies, shrimp, and an egg. So I'm structurally making a poke bowl, but the flavors, other than this daikon, the flavors are more like a, oh, what's that pasta dish called? It's called a pasta primavera, like a pasta primavera crossed with a shrimp scampi. The daikon is a little bit of an outlier. I wanted something with a good, strong crunch. Since I am doing this as a cold/room temperature served thing. And daikon is here. I'll very crunch, and it's a nice mild flavor. And red radishes do feature in pasta primavera sometimes. So that's the thing. I might end up doing a crumble of feta. The feta did not melt properly into the thing. So, hi, Sizan. Oh, people are coming in like crazy now. The feta did not melt properly into the cheese sauce, which is why you can see there it's a little bit grainy, and I'm going to be covering it up. Ooh, red onion. Good shout. Not a lot of red onion. Not a lot of red onion, but a little bit of red onion, I think. Wow, this is a spicy daikon. They aren't usually that hot. Okay, a lot of red onion. No, I'm not going to literally use this whole thing, but red onion is a good color contrast. And will kind of take the place of the scallions that go into the more traditional version of this. And look at those nice striped layers. Striking. And then I can break those up as when I go to eat them. Okay, the red onion was just the right finishing touch, just the right last element. Good shout. I was looking for one more thing, and that's the one thing. My shrimps have cooled down to room temperature. They were basically done as a scampi and then set aside to cool. Looks like I could have just done 5. So they were cooked in garlic, butter, black pepper, and thyme. And then I think part of the reason my sauce is split because I used the seasoned butter from them as the base for the cheese sauce, and I'm wondering if that may have been too much of an ask to compile into the sauce. I know it looks beautiful. That's the thing. Poke bowls always, when you like take the time on them and make them look pretty, look very pretty. They have a very, very high like attractiveness point when you're done putting them together. And I want to take that structural concept that gives these beautiful bowls and put a different flavor profile on it. That's what the experiment here is. And this was the first thing I made when I started. And I'm hoping that I made it correctly. I have not a great track record with hard-cooked eggs. That part's firm. I have not a great track record with hard-cooked eggs, so we are going to, as gently as possible, peel this guy. It seemed like it was a little bit old because it floated on its point. It stood on its end when I put it in the water. And I've been told that an older egg is easier to peel. I stuck it in a cold bath after it came out of the water, which is supposed to help the membrane separate from the egg. I'm also hoping that it's not either wildly overdone or wildly underdone in the middle. I'm hoping for like a jammy middle. I didn't make a backup, so if I mangle this one or it's not done properly, we're screwed. So far, my naysaying has not come true, and we're getting a good peel on this egg. Wow. Okay. Still got a little bit of the membrane on it that I got to get off of there. But talking about how bad I am at something while doing it, evidently, is the secret to doing it perfectly. The opposite is also true. If you talk about how good at something you are and then do it in front of people, you are guaranteed to fail. Damn. Okay. Well, there you go. One nice, perfect egg. I'm going to give it a quick rinse because there's a little bit of shell stuck to it. And then the final moment of truth. Wipe my knife down. Final moment of truth. Cut it in half because you've got to serve it with the yolk visible on the plate. I should use a bigger knife for this. Ooh, it came out great. It's a little bit soft in the middle, which is just exactly what I wanted. Wow, okay. Well, there you go. The trick to doing eggs correctly is go on and on about how hard they are and how bad you are at them. Throw these shells. Shells can be composted, so they go right into my trash bin there. That guy needs a small garnish of, I think I am going to give him a tiny crumbling of feta on the outside, or up on the top, so it's visible. And we're definitely going to have a little bit of a short show today because this is the finished dish right here in front of us. Okay. A little bit of feta. A little bit of, oops, that goes in a bag first. A little bit of finishing salt as well. There's very little salt overall in this dish. The only thing I salted up to this point directly was the water that the pasta was cooked in. I didn't even put any salt into the sauce. I just relied on the salt content of the cheeses. So we're currently on a low sodium option, although the cheeses are high sodium. Um, So let's get a little finishing salt, especially on the tomato part, and the daikon part, and the egg part, and the cucumber part. So all the vegetable parts definitely need some salt to wake them up. And yes, I did just call egg a vegetable. Sue me. Do I want a little bit of black pepper? I've already got black pepper on the shrimp and in the sauce. In lieu of a parsley garnish, I'm going to give it a sprig of thyme, which I guess we'll go there. There. And yeah, I went with a feta on top instead of a Parmesan. Since the feta flavor got kind of lost when I tried to combine it into the sauce. Yeah, a little bit of leftover daikon, which is fine. That's a good snacking vegetable. Some red onion that needs to be put away. Okay. Well, we ended up with a shorter show. Not massively shorter, but noticeably shorter. This needs a wine pairing. Let's go with the I have a Chardonnay. And of course, the reason I spent all this effort making it look so pretty was so that I could take photos. So let's take it to the other room with its wine pairing. I will take our, as they say, photos for the gram, although I don't actually have an Instagram. I should probably get an Instagram since I do a lot of food photos, and that's the place for it. You guys are lucky that I fell back to this because I was not prepared for NyQuil chicken. Okay. Now, as I said, it's a little bit of a bait calling this mac and cheese. Structurally, it's a poke bowl. Flavor-wise, it's like pasta primavera with a split Alfredo sauce. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, but also we'll give it a taste, and then I can see if it needs anything post-taste. There's a dirty fork in my fork drawer. To rewash that guy. Oh, okay. Let's see how this all came together. In theory, this should all be tasty, but we'll see how the elements actually come together. These onions break apart, so you can add just little bits of red onion to your bites as you go for them. We definitely want some pasta. Some pasta, a chunk of red onion. I'm going to carefully and pedantically construct a perfect bite. I should use a spoon. No, I'm going to take a quick bite of everything and see if I can combine the flavors in my mouth. Well, wow, wow. Okay, it needs a little bit of black pepper, but not much. Eating that the way I just did, where I was picking, I don't know if I was interrupting or not, where I was picking like individual bits and throwing them in my mouth, gave me this evolving, rolling flavor. Um, these things go great together. Wow. For as ugly as this sauce is, it is delicious, and it's actually a very strong flavor. It cuts right through these fresh vegetables. Um, I I would make this again. I would. This is a good. The thing is, this is a good like meal in a bowl. The poke bowl is a good meal in a bowl, and all you've got all these various elements, and then you can combine them in different ways in each bite to make your eating experience this sort of constantly shifting thing. Um, the frankly quite oily, strongly flavored sauce that I used as the cheese sauce complements the fact that I used these just raw, fresh vegetables really well. I think that if I used cooked vegetables, this thing would be much too heavy. The raw vegetables balance out the fact that the sauce didn't work great. And it's through balancing the finished plate that I have rescued the sauce. Um, Doing this with noodles is strange. The noodles don't bring a lot of flavor, but they bring a very unique texture that you wouldn't get from rice. You could do this with rice, I think, as well. I think if I did this again, I would try to not ruin the sauce. But this is good. And this is a proof of concept that you can basically take anything, any cuisine, and construct it in this way with your various elements that the eater then can combine as they're going. This this works. This specific combination has worked. Um, the bright, fresh crunchiness of the daikons, a little bit of a peppery bite because they're a little bit spicy as a radish. Likewise with the onion, and then the savory juiciness comes from the fresh tomato, fresh garden tomato, and then the cucumber is a like a palate cleanser right in the bowl. Um, two thumbs up from me. This one's pretty good. This one's pretty good, and you're right. It did need a little bit of black pepper, but just a tiny bit. It really didn't need much. Um, I'm impressed. I'm impressed considering I literally just made this up. I walked around the grocery store for an hour after having picked up a package of shrimp. I was like, what can I make with these shrimps? And my mind took me to obvious answers like make a poke bowl and then make a shrimp scampi. And then what if you took a poke bowl and a shrimp scampi and mashed them together into one dish? And that's where we came. That's so. Yeah, a little bit of a shorter one today. The experiment worked. The sauce didn't, and I'm still not sure what part of the sauce. It's resplit again. I had it almost together, but now it's resplit as it's been cooling off. So I'm not sure what I did wrong with that sauce. It split badly, but the flavor is good. So as long as you're not looking at it, it's fine. Um, so yeah, the overall experiment worked. The little sub experiment didn't. And it's a nice. It's cool. It's room temp. The whole thing is room temperature. This is our last like proper warm day for the year, I think. So a nice fresh meal to close out the warm season here. Yeah, and a little bit of a shorter show today because it just didn't take that long. I thought I might have more time because I was purely experimenting, but also sometimes when you're experimenting, you just don't know how long it's going to take, and it takes less time. So I'm going to wrap us up. Let's go see who's still on. We have now. Just before I started, I was watching So Everdream play the mortuary assistant. He's absolutely terrified. But I think we're going to go see a different food streamer today. One that I haven't been to in a while. I think since before I got affiliate. She's not frequently on when I am finishing up is the problem. But she's cooking something at the moment. She's not up to plating and serving yet, so we're still definitely have at least some time. 2 girls, 1 game. She plays games and she cooks. Right now, she's doing something with a black and white filter. So I guess we'll find out what that is when we get there. But yeah, thanks for showing up. Thanks for the chit chat. I'm glad my experiment worked out. I got to come up with a name for this because, of course, everyone's going to ask what the heck I made. But yeah, as always, I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something. Yeah, not more to say, I guess. I will just sit here and stare you down as the countdown runs out.